Alright, this is a short guide on how to use AI spawning method contained within the TAS mission template. So to get started with, I've imported the template, I have my players over here on the salt flats, and I have an objective that I want to cache and then respawn later over here at the power plant. So first of all, I'm going to select everything I want to cache. So in this case, it's going to be everything here, including the buildings. You might choose not to do the buildings, and that's completely fine. Just make sure that if you have AI, you also have the modules they are synced to, so the LAM's waypoints, well, modules. Now, so I want to cache everything here, except for this task module, because it would be bad if we cache the task thing, since it would only go into effect after we respawn it, but we want it to be running the whole mission. So we're going to leave this here and not cached. We are going to cache everything else, the AI, the vehicle, the compositions, everything. So I have everything I want to cache for this objective selected, and now I'm going to go down to the bottom left. I'm going to hit the folder with the plus button on it that says new layer. So what this does is it just organizes everything into a new layer for to clean up the left tree, and this will also help us later in spawning it. So as you can see, it's created layer 709. I'm going to double click that. I'm going to rename it to something all in lowercase. So power station, all lowercase. And then I'm going to look in the left, and I want to make sure it's the root, or most other things might happen. So root means that it's aligned on the very left with all the other folders. Here we can see that power station is a part of the rollback folder. So I'm going to select the power station folder, and I'm down to this folder icon with the exit sign on it that says move to root, and I'm going to left click it. Now it's aligned with everything else, so it's part of the root. So now I want to save my mission. I want to actually go ahead and open up File Explorer and bring up my mission file. I'm going to copy it and paste it. And then I'm going to rename it so it's a actual mission file that the game can open. So sample template 2, or let's do AI spawn to make it simpler. So else you might mix it up with a few version numbers or something like that. So I'm going to go back to Eden, and I'm still in my main mission file, so I'm going to select everything that I want cached. I'm going to select that folder, and I'm going to delete it. I'm going to save my mission. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up that second mission file I copied. So now that we're here, we're going to delete everything that isn't being cached. So I have my power station layer, and I want to delete everything not in it. So I'm just going to select all these other folders. I'm going to delete them. I'm going to delete them again because not all of them actually made it in there. There we go. Alright, so I'm left with just my power station stuff. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go in the top left to scenario. I'm going to hit export and export to SQF. So this will output your mission to a code file. So it might take a few seconds or minutes to load, just don't worry. Eventually it'll work. Then I'm going to hit copy, so that's all copied to my clipboard, and I'm going to go back to File Explorer. So I'm going to go into my main mission, and then I'm going to create a file called spawn units.sqf. And I'm going to open that. And while that opens, I'm going to go back to my main mission. Well, I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go back to my main mission. They're in two separate mission files so that I can easily go back and edit them if I need to. While I'm here, I'm just going to check on something real quick to make sure I'm telling the right instructions. Yes, yes, I was indeed correct. So I'm going to go back to my folder, and I want to open that file I created, spawn units.sqf. So you can use Notepad++, even regular Notepad. I'm just using Visual Studio Code because that's easier for me. So I have it open, and I'm going to paste my clipboard into here. Now, if you're doing something funky, you might have to do some additional stuff here, just ask me for that. But since we're just doing a normal, typical example, all we have to do is paste it in here and hit save. Then note that at the top here, layer 4050 is our power station. But you don't need to remember that. Just remember that you named it power station. So next I'm going to go back into Eden, and I'm going to go find this trigger, the spawn AI trigger. Right now it's in the bottom left of all the template modules next to the Zeus stuff, but its location might change in the future. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that over to my objective, the power station, and I'm going to open my trigger. So let's see the options. So how this works is that layer to spawn is the layer that you want to spawn in the spawn units.sqf. So it is power station. For some reason, if any of this is in capital letters, then it may not work, so this is why you always do lowercase stuff for the layer name and for it right here. If I wanted to spawn multiple layers that I made, then I would just do comma second layer with quotations around it. But since we're just doing power station, we don't need that. Now the next number is 10. This is the number of seconds that the game will warn the players before it spawns the layer. So we'll see an example of this in a second. Generally speaking, 10 is fine. Then 2 is the machine owner of where you're going to spawn the AI. 2 is the code for the main server machine. In most cases, you can just spawn it server machine, no problem. Maybe you want to spawn it on a headless client to improve performance, but just note that that might make stuff like dynamic simulation and some stuff with modules go haywire because they're meant to always be on the server. I'll upload a second tutorial, maybe just in text form, about how to fix that later. But generally speaking, you can just leave it on 2 and that's fine. Then don't change anything else, don't change the second 2. Just want to change the first 2 if you want to change something else. If you want to put it on a headless client, then you would do HC1 or whatever the variable name of the headless client is on. But I'm just going to leave it on 2. So power station is the layer to spawn, 10 is the number of seconds to warn the players, and 2 is the machine ID, in this case the server, on which the AI is going to be spawned. Then just for activation, since my main players are blue 4, I'm going to change it to blue 4, because I don't want to teleport here in Zeus and ruin it by spawning it early. And I'm just going to make the size pretty large. In fact, probably larger than that. Yeah. Since it's just an example, we can do 1000. I'm doing it pretty high because not only is AI not spawned in, but the buildings aren't spawned in, and it looks kind of wacky if the players get a look at this. They see there's no buildings, and later when they actually get close enough for it to spawn, then buildings appear. So you might want to consider that when choosing what to delete and to respawn. Maybe you only want to do the AI, since those are less noticeable. The players get a view of it before the things are spawned in. Anyways, this is all working. I'm going to save the mission and I'm going to play it. Alright, I'm going to open up Zeus. I'm going to go over to my power station, and I'm a civilian, so this won't do anything, so I'm just going to place down a blue 4 guy next to me. And you see in the top right, it has that warning. It also has a warning system chat in the bottom left, in case players are in like Arsenal and can't see the hint. And now it spawns the AI, and it might take a few seconds, but they'll be spawned in, their modules will activate, which will teleport them to like, these guys are in camp, these guys are in garrison over here, those guys are on patrol, these guys are also garrisoning, stuff like that. So if you're spawning a lot of things, it might take a minute or two. Usually not a minute or two, I've seen up to 5 seconds so far. But as long as you're not spawning an unreasonable amount of things, it'll be super quick. The players will see a little bit of desync, which is why the warning exists. So if they're driving, they can pull off to the side of the road for 10 seconds while the AI spawns in. And there you have it, your AI is spawned. your FPS is amazing, and desync has been minimized.